The Accidental Entrepreneur is brought to you with the help of our sponsor, AWeber, the world's leading small business email marketing and automation service provider. Since 1998, AWeber has helped more than 1 million small businesses and entrepreneurs through its suite of web-based email marketing, automation tools, and education. AWeber, the best option when it comes to marketing your business. The podcast is also brought to you by the Alternative Board. Since 1989, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has been one of the leading peer advisory and business coaching organizations for independent business owners and CEOs across the world. By facilitating peer advisory boards, private one-on-one coaching, and strategic planning services, TAB helps business owners improve their businesses in ways that change their lives. And be sure to connect with our affiliate sponsor, GSM Growth Agency. They're boosting e-commerce businesses to 6 and 7 figures in revenue and cover everything from ads and social media influencers to making your website better. GSM Growth Agency focuses on taking businesses from startup success to bigger success, going above and beyond to make sure growth sticks around. They're all about cool ideas, lasting partnerships, and making your mark in the e-commerce world. And be sure to support the podcast by ordering some logo merchandise from our online store. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm Mitch Beinhacker, your host, and we have an international guest today. Actually, I think Axa is in the States now, but originally from Armenia. We're going to talk about. She's a brilliant scientist. She's got all kinds of crazy stuff going on, great stories to tell, and now all the motivational stuff she's doing for people. So if you are listening on your favorite directory, leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching us on YouTube, like the channel, subscribe, do all those things to support us so we can keep connecting with people like Axa. So let's get on with today's show.
The information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work, and they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Beinhacker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests, where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode. All right, Axa, thanks for your patience there when I say the little crazy disclaimers and credits and stuff. All right, so, it was great that we connected. I know we connected through Podmatch. And why don't we start with, your story? Because I know you've done, first of all, you have a great background in training and stuff in biotech and all that stuff. And then how you got into entrepreneurship. And I know you struggled and, well, we call it a learning experience, right? There are no failures. They're just learning experiences. So maybe we want to start back with your training and background. What do you think?
Whatever works for you.
Okay.
I'm fine. I like to go with the flow because that's when the wisdom comes.
All right. So let's hear your story.
So, I love nature since I was a child. Like being in science, in biology, it was kind of destined for me. And I always try to see what is different, like what exists in the world, what is possible to do. And because being in science, you have to do the research, you have to go through the literature. And it helped me many times through when I started to do my entrepreneur and even when I started to coach. And I started to be part of the companies. I would pick up what is the difference, what makes one company to be successful versus the other one,
Right.
Why people stick with one company and they quit the other one. What changes when you change your mindset?
Sure.
Because when you are in science, it's kind of you are protected. It sounds really very bad, but even if you do the experiment and you failed, no one sees that.
Right.
So that's the difference between academia and the real life.
Right.
And even if it is something new, everyone are excited. Because I remember in 2006, I kind of isolated the bacteria, which is described and isolated for the first time in the world. And by now, no one isolated the same. It's a new species we describe.
Yeah.
And the first time when I shared that story with the business person, the first question was right away, can we sell it?
Right, of course.
Can you imagine the person who is in
Right.
science
Doesn't
excited
even
to
think about that, right?
never? And
Share
I
it with
was
the world,
like,
right?
no, why
Yeah.
would you even think to sell? And step by step, you come to realize what is the wisdom of the real life,
Right.
where the success is. And once you start to see the success or the failure through the definition, and you know that it might differ from person to person, then your mind shifts. And
Yeah.
for me, failure is not when you tried and you didn't succeed, it's when you didn't try.
Right. Definitely. And you know what I think, and you'll confirm this as we go through, right? There's no like something special about the people that succeed. They don't have some special skill that other people don't have or access to more information. I mean, there's some differences, but for the most part, if you follow the pattern and if you learn the things and if you have the right mindset, you can be successful too. Maybe different levels of success. But I think that's the one thing, is that it's not something special that made this person successful and you fail, that you can't do.
I like that because I'm just from the seminar with Grant Cardone for
Right.
3
We talked
days.
to Mike about that. Yeah.
And the funny thing that I needed to quit my job to go for
Yeah.
the seminar because they were not letting. And I asked, what I have to do? And they said, you have to resign. And I said, send
That's
me the
what the deal
paper.
was. If you're going to go,
Yes.
you got to be unemployed.
Yes.
On your
I
own.
needed, I didn't have PTO and I was like, so what is the deal? And they said, you have to resign. And I said, send me the paper. Was I scared? I'm scared even now. But when you trade your freedom and your mindset to be bind to the place where you don't see the growth. And this is one thing that I really want to mention, because that's a completely different mindset that I learned through the seminar.
Yeah.
When you are limited and you don't see the growth, the A players will quit. But how you can build the company if you don't have the A players?
Right.
So you need to find a way to work with the A players as well, even if you give them some advantages.
Right.
But they are to bring your company up front,
Right.
to level and to bring the progress to your company. So you have to find that way to talk to them.
Right.
And even with the mindset, I was thinking the same. If you start the company, you have to see where it goes. But more and more you attend the seminars, and more you talk to people at the different level of success, you realize that it's not by accident.
Right. Of course not. And you know
There
what? I think
is
they wanted you to
something.
be committed to it, right? There's no turning back. There's nothing comfortable where you could fail and just fall back on your job. They didn't want you to do that. But let's go back a little bit though, back to your training and the company. I'd like to know more about the companies that you started and what you learned and what those companies were, assuming that you talk about them. And because they were biotech companies, right?
They were biotech companies. Okay. Yeah, I had 12 inventions. So you normally start to try to raise the capital and to start the production. And I even learned to do the business plan. And when I started to see the multi-millions, so you are very excited. Yeah. And you start to pitch and you start to pitch. And every next investor, they were just turning down my pitch. And I was surprised to see why it's happening, because one of my inventions is to clean the water. So it's the technology to clean the water.
To clean public water? To
clean the aquarium water and the fish pond water.
Okay.
But no one was interested. And when so it's literally, you need to learn the mindset and the mentality of the customer first before
Right.
you even try to bring the product on the
Yeah.
market.
Right. Because a lot of things you think is important, nobody cares. I mean, maybe it does great things, right? It's a great invention, can save that happens all the time. I got clients that come to me, they've created a product, they have a service, they didn't do the market research, they didn't talk to the customers. Nobody cares, at least not enough people to make it into a business. And now they're
Sure.
stuck. They spend all this time. It's different though in science though, because I think as a pure scientist, right, you're researching things, you're developing ideas, you're doing the testing, you're doing the science. I don't think you're really focusing on, maybe you should be. I don't think you're really focusing on like, okay, is this going to be marketable later on? Like, that's not right. That's not what you're doing in the laboratory. It's not until after you, oh, I got this invention and we got a patent on it and we got a Nobel Prize and now can we market it? And then you find that nobody cares, right? I mean, the Nobel Prize people did, but you know.
I
Right?
believe it would be very beneficial for every university, even to create the mindset for the scientist if there is an option to create the product,
Right.
because that's the same when you are in basic science or the applied science, because some universities, they have the departments where they kind of work with the business sector and they get the offers, or even the like, we have this issue, can you solve it? And then you start to develop the product based on the problem. But it is not for all the universities. And it's unfortunate because I did the invention and there was no
Were you at a
transition.
university when you did the invention?
Yes, I did the invention at the university, and because there was no transition to the business sector, then I was just stuck with the invention that I did. Yes, what do you do? What is the next? But I had that shift already, kind of, maybe because I was traveling so many times, like from my home country. I lived for many years in Europe, like Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and I already changed that mindset.
Because you were exposed to this.
Yeah, where is the home?
Right. So Axa, there must be universities with hundreds, maybe thousands of inventions, patents, things like that never like go anywhere because nobody cares.
No one cares. Yes, because the execution is everything, and it takes so much time to execute. And that's when it's not like that sabotage, but still there is not enough force in the university as well. So if there is an option to create that link, even for the investors, because we were trying to create kind of the link between the universities and the investors. So the investors would go directly to the universities and ask, do you have anything for me? Not for the entrepreneur or the inventor to go to the investor, because that's a broken disc. Like, if you go to the investor, then the investor has the power, and then they start to shut you down, and then they ask for the business plan. I'm scientist. I shouldn't know the business plan. I shouldn't know the numbers, more or less. Do you know what I mean? But so there is a gap between the basic science, which absolutely is incredible. People do so many experiments. But once you are lost even in science, and you don't know that it's possible to create something that can be monetized, can be converted into the product, then you don't focus even on that, because
you give a different approach, right?
Yes, the approach is completely different because you're in science. I did something new. It's very exciting. What if the business sector comes to the university and try to cover that gap and really kind of recruit the universities to create the products for them? Because that's the practice in UK. They do it with many laboratories. Yes. So if they have the problem, they go to a particular laboratory and they ask them for the solution. So what if every country brings that awareness about what is possible to be done, and then you will not force in bad way, but you will give the ground for people not to do the basic things.
Bridge the gap between the knowledge.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
out of your inventions, did you ever get any of them funded, or you had 12, you said?
I have 12 of them, and we are starting the production with 2 of them because those are a little bit more products for the daily life.
Okay.
With the other ones, I'm trying, but once you see that there is no much interest and the time that you have to invest in even promoting your products is compared to what is the outcome,
Right.
you start to see the point of the investor,
Right.
why they don't invest in your company. But that's the gap that needs to be fulfilled with from the different perspectives, because not every investor is looking for making the profit. Many investors started to see the world through cleaning, because when even I was talking about the technology which will help to save the water, let's say,
Okay.
many people, I would talk to them, they are potential customers. The answer was, you can save the money, right? If you save the water, you save the money. They were like, it's included in my utility. Why do I need to bother? And you think that's not the right answer, because we have
Right.
to save the drinking water for the coming generations, because we are running out of the
Right.
water.
But there's no benefit to them monetarily right now, so they're not that interested.
But I flipped how I presented the same product, and I started to hit that you can save your time, because every week, instead of spending several hours to clean the aquarium, now you have the option to spend with your family. The same product, I didn't change anything. I just flipped the approach. People were reacting.
Yeah, well, that's right. You got to get them interested in what pushes their buttons, right? What's
Yes,
their hot points, and yeah, I mean that's part
the
of the
pain
process.
point.
Now you mentioned about business plan. How did you learn how to write a business plan? You weren't an MBA student. You were a
No.
scientist, right?
Yes, when you are kind of cornered, then you
Yeah,
do what
necessity,
it
right?
takes.
Yeah,
Necessity and urgency.
right. So, but how did you do it? Did you go out on the internet and find a template? Did you find somebody to help you?
I just find the template and I started to learn to go through the videos just to understand. I was very good with the numbers, like from
Yeah,
algebra
that's important,
perspective.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very important. I know that it's important, but even if you are not, you still can ask people, because the business plan is not only the numbers. You have to understand what does the margin mean,
right,
which was completely new term for me. You really have to understand what is. When you add the new customer, you have to know that you cannot add to the revenue the previous customer. You have to you have to see the difference. What is the revenue? What is the profit? What is
yeah,
the
it
liquid?
matters,
What is the flow? You learn step by step, but it helps you to develop the product, which doesn't only generate the money, but it can potentially be interesting from the profit perspective. Because if you are interested, let's say I'm really very interested in saving the water.
okay,
So instead of starting the company through the technology, which will take me maybe several years to bring on the market because there is no much profit. So now I can focus on the product which can generate the profit and then invest in my own company, because we need to save water. We cannot
right,
skip it. It's for the coming generations. And if every single person who has the power of the decision and they say, I'm not interested in water, I'm not interested in the environment, where do we tend? So we
right,
somehow have to keep that mindset as well, that once you start to make the profit, you need to like reinvest, the same like Amazon did. I was surprised and I posted it on LinkedIn. So Amazon invested 10 millions in the climate tech companies, climate change
right,
related companies. And I just wrote one line and you would be amazed how many people reacted. The first was, instead of investing 10 millions in the climate change
right,
startups, you can already do one tiny thing which
right,
will help. What is that? Every time when we order anything through the Amazon, how many boxes per item do we get? Minimum one and maximum two, because one like they put in one tiny box and then they put in the big box, and
Right.
then they have to wrap it. How we create the trash from shopping online. So sometimes the easiest way
Right.
is to clean after the yourself. So if you are coming as Amazon, like you bring the delivery, right?
Right.
Gather the packs, gather the carton, like
Yeah, well, you can
clean.
do that, right? You can say,
Yeah.
okay, listen, I'll get it next Tuesday instead of today. Just ship it in one box and not make 3
Or
boxes, right?
or you are coming to the complex, like condominiums, like
Right.
there are how many apartments that they order through Amazon? Normally one per day,
Right.
if not multiple per
Oh,
day.
yeah. And there must
So
be hundreds of
get
boxes
the
coming to the, yeah.
get there and then create, or even if you don't create the recycling company, there are recycling companies who definitely cannot spend as much money and go through all the buildings and gather that. You already came with the same truck that brought the delivered items. You take the boxes. You
Yeah.
just take the boxes and deliver to the recycling company. It's a tiny gap which you can invest even really very small amount, but cover it. Because every time when I go to see how many how many boxes do we put in the garbage
Oh,
per
yeah.
day, it's
Crazy.
huge number.
Right.
And no one take care after that.
Right, because there's no profit incentive.
I
There's a
love that.
break, right? There's a missing
Thank you.
link, right, between the people at the one end and the people that are making the stuff. You get the box, you recycle it, but I don't know if you're,
You just waste the box.
yeah.
That's
I don't even know where it goes when they pick it up. Do they do something with it? They don't clean the box and reuse it. They put it in a dump and I don't know. They do something.
Dump it, yes, and they recycle. But that's the tiny, even if there is no profit, right? That's the gap that we need to fulfill, because it's not always to work hard. Sometimes it's just simply to work smart, because
Yeah, of
your
course.
driver already came to the complex, so you have just only 10 minutes. Gather the boxes, cover the gap. You
Right.
already invested 10 millions in the startups, the climate change, or any company which tries to mitigate the climate change.
Yeah.
It's just a tiny gap that
Adjustment.
we have.
Yeah.
Adjustment.
There's a Japanese word. It's called kaizen, I think, and it has to do with the little changes that you can make
Yes.
that make a very big difference. Look, we wouldn't recycle most of the stuff in this country if we weren't required to do it. Now that municipalities are doing it, if in the old days you had to like recycle your own stuff, you wouldn't do it. Like, because you're like, well, my neighbor doesn't do it. I'm not going to do it. I got to drive to the recycling center with the stuff in my car and put it in the recycling bin. So people don't do it. So eventually the government has to say, hey, everybody in the club, United States club, other country clubs, this is what we ought to do as a society. And I think sometimes even with inventions, like you said, because a lot of yours are environmentally based, right? Because they're bio and tech and stuff like that, is that's the problem, right? And getting people interested to do it. Now, did you learn a lot from going to making these pitches? And you were talking to like VCs, right? Venture capital
Yes.
groups. Yeah, you must have learned a lot in terms of what they're looking for and how they see things and right, how they view things and the questions they ask.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I believe the first is they always look for the person behind the product, because everything they told me 3 years ago when I
Right.
just started off like to pitch the investors, everything that I was unable even to grasp on what is the wisdom behind. Now, within 3 years, I came, and every single time when I hit that, my reaction is, oh, they told me 3 years ago. So the best advice and what I learned as the takeaway,
Yeah.
if you see the person who already achieved what you want to achieve and they give you the advice, even if you disagree, you will come through the time to see that. If you didn't come to see the truth and the wisdom behind, It's you are not there yet, because it's not by accident every single time that the person reaches the highness or they progress and they have a huge company
Right.
that invest in the startups.
Right.
Listen to them, because everything you will come later was told to you before.
You just
So
didn't.
you
You were just too
you
new and have enough experience. Right.
you don't have the experience. So that's at the moment, because I already came to that level to see the difference between the mindset that I had previously, which caused me to fail 100%. I
Right.
take it. That was my responsibility, but I was not taught otherwise.
Right.
So if you have the option, listen to people who already succeeded. If you have the option, invest in yourself, in the mentors who can put you on the track faster, because the money that you lose while you learn the lessons by yourself is much more than if you have the option to invest and to learn it faster. Many
Yeah.
people don't have that option. I agree with that. I was there as well. I couldn't even see the wisdom why to invest in the mentor. Now,
Right.
every single time I just quit the job because I'm new in the country. I still had the job to support my living while I was building my own company
Where were you
step
working
by
at the time?
step. At the medical office, I was working with the insurances. So
Okay.
I purchased the seminar with Grant Cardone.
Right.
And the only way to go for the seminar if I would resign. I didn't doubt even for 1 second. I resigned. I went for the seminar, and that's the funniest thing, because when I purchased the ticket, I didn't know that there are several options. So we had the super VIP, and there was a line, clear line, like
Right.
you couldn't step
You could
behind that
see, but
line.
you couldn't go into that new
You
section.
couldn't sit there. You could,
Right.
sometimes you can go and talk to somebody, but most of the time we had the seminar, and the most of the audience was behind the line. The first 30 minutes, instead of focusing what the speaker was talking, I was absolutely focused on that line, and it was pissing me off. I couldn't.
Were you behind the line?
I was behind the line.
Yeah. So you're like, I don't like this. I want to be part of the successful
Yes,
people in the front. Find out what they're talking about. Right.
But we heard the same wisdom. There was no difference
Right.
between
You're
the
in the same
information
room.
shared.
Of course.
So they paid 5 times more than I did. I didn't know that there is a difference, whatever.
Right.
So 30 minutes I lost from the seminar, simply because I was focused on the line which was separating me from the other people. I was like, it's unfair, and
Right.
all the things that we keep telling to ourselves, right? The life is unfair, and I will come to unfairness in really very short. But then it snapped in me, and I was like, the line's supposed to be in red. And I even went to the customer service and I said, please make next time the line in red. And they were like, why? You could see the line then. I was like, yes, because that's the best reminder for yourself.
Psychological.
Yes, is the push.
Right.
Why you, because when it's gray, it blends, you don't see the difference. Psychologically, you know that there is but through the time you forget that it's like you cannot cross it. It reminds you every time. And I was sitting the first line, obviously, to hear anything. And every single time I would look at the line, I started to be like, the line supposed to be red. Because that's what pisses you off more and more. Every second I was focused, and I was like, next time I'm on the other side. And
What did
about
you
that,
being on the other side? I mean, you're closer to the stage, but what else? You don't pay 5 times the price just to be closer to the stage.
we got the same information,
Right.
right?
So what are they paying for?
the same information. They just had the option to ask the questions, which, by the way, it turned out we also had the option to ask the questions. So the bravest people from behind the line, they asked the questions.
Okay.
And sitting there for 3 days, the last day was kind of the exceptional, because the second speaker, she was the president of the company, and she had very soft voice, and we couldn't hear anything.
Right.
I was sitting there and I was started to ask people around, can you hear anything? And they were like, no, but she has very soft voice. And I was like, and we
Right.
are here. We spent our time. Anyway,
Right.
you are here. I
Well,
want to
didn't she have
hear.
a microphone? Wasn't she mic'd
She
up?
had the microphone, but still, because the other people, they were quite loud with the voice. So the general, like the
Right. They had it
overall
turned down
life,
because the
the
people must
volume was
have.
down.
Right.
So
She was,
yeah,
right.
but that's not the point. And I'm fine with that. The crew didn't hear because they have so many things going on, so they can hear each other. They don't focus on the speech of the person. None of people from behind the line who paid the money, by the way,
Yeah.
went to the crew and asked them to
Turn it up.
increase the
Right.
to increase the volume. I was the only one. I went there and I was like, I'm really very sorry, we can't hear anything. It took
Right.
them 10 minutes to fix, and we could hear the speech. But that's the I was sitting there and I was like, I cannot believe that. Why people, if you paid less, you think that your money are less valuable? You are less valuable to the company who
Right.
present the seminar? No, you are the same.
Right.
And you are there to claim your rights because you are there.
Do you
It
think
was,
that's just a mindset thing, or
yes.
people are not confident, or?
Yeah, people don't feel comfortable and they feel small, and that's why that shift that happened within 30 minutes, that I was looking at, focused on the line, and I was like, I hate that line. I
Right.
hate
Well, you
that line.
felt that you were pushed back, that you were
Yeah.
excluded from the
Excluded. I love that
right,
word. Yeah.
right, the group of people that you thought were more successful, you wanted to be near. But probably not a lot of people saw it that way. Just saw it like, I don't want to pay to be in there. I could be here. And
I'm fine. Yeah. But the third day showed why you are on that on this
Right.
side. Because even being on this side, you came, you spent your time, you paid for the ticket.
Right, of
And
course.
still you feel yourself so small. And during the lunch, I was talking to people and I was like, could you hear her? And they were like, no, we couldn't. And it was so pity, she was speaking. But then suddenly they increased the volume, and I was like, I went and asked them.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a break for some commercials. Then we'll come back and let's talk more about what you're doing now, because I know you still have some companies going on, and because you left your job and all that kind of stuff, and then the coaching that you're doing for people and mindset stuff. All right?
Yes.
Okay, let's take a break. I'm going to mute you. Here's a word from our sponsors. Looking to market and grow your business? Or perhaps you're just getting started and want to hit the ground running? AWeber is the best choice for online email marketing and automation of your business. From maintaining a subscriber list to drip campaigns and landing pages, AWeber gives you tools and integrations that make marketing easy and fun. As our partner and sponsor, we use all their tools to promote the podcast and market our law firm. AWeber, the best alternative for online marketing. For over 30 years, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has built a thriving community of forward-thinking CEOs and business owners who want to radically improve their companies. Through unique combinations of one-on-one business coaching, participation in monthly TAB board meetings with other non-competing owners, a suite of strategic tools, and customized strategic planning workshops, TAB membership can deliver greater strength to your business and a better work-life balance for you and your family. All packaged in a streamlined and affordable service that the people at TAB invite you to try risk-free. Are you struggling with managing advertising due to a lack of time or expertise? Perhaps you're facing challenges in scaling ads for your store. Are you feeling lost when strategies have no success? GSM Growth Agency is your reliable partner in overcoming these business challenges. Feel the impact of collaborating with a team dedicated not only to short-term goals, but also to building long-term partnerships and achieving sustained success. Embark on an exciting journey to redefine the possibilities of e-commerce and create a legacy of unparalleled excellence. Take decisive action now. Follow their link in the show notes to receive a complimentary audit of your Shopify store conducted by a GSM expert. Propel your e-commerce game to new heights with GSM Growth Agency. Follow the link in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show. All right, Axa, so we're back. We're talking about all the stuff you're doing today. So maybe you can fill us in on the companies that, like, what are the companies you have now? You said you have a lot of inventions, but they didn't all get to market because we know, like, we can invent the greatest things and people don't care. They should. So what are your companies doing now?
At the moment, we are launching one of the products. It's the cream for the foot cream.
Okay.
For the ingrown nails. It's unbelievable. The results are phenomenal. The second part of the company, we're going to produce the cookies. Because
Cookies?
that's cookies, yes.
Okay.
Because that's something that I had since I was a child, and there is nothing similar on the market.
A scientific cookie?
No.
No?
A regular cookie.
That's just baking, like a secret recipe.
Super recipe, yes.
Okay.
Coming from my mom, because that's what comes when you start to learn the customer psychology.
Right.
And the market.
Right, exactly.
And
That's
you
why
see
you do it that way. Right.
Yes, that you see what people pay for.
Right.
What is the success? Where is success? Why people buy particular
You have to know
products?
the customers. Just because you love your mom's cookies doesn't mean that other people will love your mom's cookies. Maybe they won't, right?
Yes, and you learn step by step with 12 inventions. I was excluding all of them. Why? Not because they are not important, but we couldn't justify, or the customers were not willing to pay for the product. So the time that you would spend to acquire the customers, it's not worthwhile.
Right. There's no profit
to be
in
spent.
It's too expensive. So let me ask you this question, because I'm not a scientist, right? I'm pretend. So you've already mentioned like two things completely unrelated, like foot cream and cleaning the water. Like what's the process? I mean, obviously the process isn't let's go to market and see what we can do and then come back. It sounds like you're all over the place. So where do these things come from? And you just test things on a regular basis. So somebody has a foot problem, so I'll do that. It's from
daily life. The best way to get the idea of the product is to look for customers who have the problem. We hear that
what happened with cream, like you knew people that had issues, and you're like, I can solve that.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
That's what the most successful people say, right? Find the customer that has the problem and willing to pay for solving the problem. While we always hear never develop the product and try to sell the product, you will fail.
Right.
And
Is that what happened with the water cleaning product? Like you figured a way to clean the water and then found out that nobody cared.
Thank you.
You should care.
But that's where when you start, you learn.
Yeah.
Yes.
You learn, like, I wasted all this time doing something great, right? That society needs, but there's no profit in it. And I can't get it off the ground. It probably happened. I met a guy who had a patent or something, how to clean and reuse asphalt. When they repave the roads, they chop it up, like they grind, and then they grind it down. They put down a new surface. Apparently, a lot of that stuff cannot be reused.
Mm-hmm.
Like very little of it. This guy had a process to reuse like 95% of the asphalt that they took off the road, and they can reuse it. Couldn't get the business off the ground. Nobody cared.
That's unfortunate that we will learn through the life.
Right.
And that's what every single successful person says.
Yeah.
Never start with the product and then search for the customers. You will fail right away.
That might not be out there. Right.
Go the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Find the customer, bring them in, and show what you can do.
Yeah. The most successful people that I've worked with, had on the show, They know their customers. And even when they know their customers, they're still asking. They're still checking. They're still asking the marketplace, why are you like this product? What if we change this? They want to know, because they don't want to do it and just come out with version 2.0 and then give it to them and say, here's 2.0. What do you think? You know, and then they're like, oh, we don't like this. And then they switch and they do something else. They don't use your product anymore because you didn't do the work.
Yeah, but the same Ford, he always says, if I would ever ask the customers whether they want the vehicle or the car, they would prefer to go with the horse. So
because that's what they know.
Yes.
Right.
So when the successful people say don't create the product and then search for the customer, it's not only the psychology is a bit, it's so wide. You have to understand. So it's not only to create the product, is find the problem the customer has and is willing to pay for solving that. Because if the customer has the problem they can solve on their own, you cannot create the product, they will not buy it.
Right.
But sometimes the customer don't know that they have the problem unless they see the product and the solution.
There's an option.
Yes. So
right.
It's the business is all about the psychology of the customer. If you want to succeed, you
right.
have to start to learn the psychology of the customer.
Right, but you can test the idea. Like if you're Henry Ford,
yeah,
you can test the idea of, listen, you wouldn't have to clean up after your horses. They wouldn't die. You know, would this be something you would, and then find out what the interest is. Obviously, it's expensive at the beginning, but
that's exactly, he knew the pain point of the customer.
Right.
He just articulated in a different way. So if you want to be successful in business, don't create the product, either find what is the problem and then try to resolve it, or create the problem. Because sometimes we have the problem and we don't know that there is a problem.
An option, right? Exactly. I mean, you have a problem with the horse, but you don't think there's any other way to do it, right?
Sure. And also, like within the last 2 or 3 years, we started to have the shopping carts, right? Before we were carrying everything in our hands, and it was normal for us because we didn't know that this is a problem which can be solved. At the moment, you can see nearly 10% still only people carry everything from the grocery store in their shopping cart. But it's so hard to change the mentality of the person who thinks that I can carry, it's a workout, while you have to explain them that's not the workout, because when you work out you have to lift. When you carry the heavy stuff, it's not very good for your shoulders and your joints.
Yeah.
So you don't create the problem, you just articulate the problem in a different way, and then people come to you. But if you just go there and you say, oh, I have the product.
And here it is, all the shopping carts, and then nobody uses them.
No one.
Because they're all used to doing it the other way.
The same is with the home aquariums. They are used to clean, spend their time, change, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's what they are used to. But once you introduce, are they willing to pay for the product which cleans the water and saves the water? It turned out no.
Was that one of the applications? Like if you had a home aquarium,
yes, you just
would clean the water as opposed to just a regular filter, and then you'd scrub I used to have a big aquarium. You'd scrub the thing and then you change out the water. So that would solve that problem and make it a lot easier.
Yes,
and nobody
because
cared.
it keeps removing the nutrients from the water, so you don't need to change the water. But as a scientist who was always in water science, like working with saving the water, that was my passion. So I introduced the same product through saving the water, because drinking water is limited on the planet. No one cared. Once we flipped and we introduced that you can save the time, instead of cleaning your aquarium during the weekend, you can spend the time with your kids.
And there's a consumer that likes
there
their
is a consumer right away.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you weren't into aquariums. The science was the cleaning the water and nothing, right?
Saving the potable water, because we don't have the fresh water enough for the coming generations.
Right, of course.
But no one cares.
I know they should, but they don't. But that's interesting. So there's an example of, if you did the market research ahead of time, right? Or while you were doing it, you would discover that, oh, wait a second, this can work very well in the aquarium market. Now, did it ever become a product that you can?
It's at the moment we are trying to bring it on the market, but because the margin, that's exactly what we discussed previously. So once you do the business plan and you see that the revenue is not as high to cover the time that you have to invest in the
Right.
product,
You're not interested and it's not investable.
yeah, it's not investable, and that's unfortunate because that's the maximum cap that you can reach with that product. And you see the point of the investor who was not interested from the very beginning, because that's the maximum that you can reach, and that's unfortunate what's happening. But because I still I'm very environment oriented person, so we will start with a different product, reinvest the money and to save the water, because we really need to think about the
So
environment.
you got to find a workaround as to how you can get
Yes.
people interested, and maybe governments would be interested or whatever. Now, let me ask you a question. This is like a layperson's question, right? Is there a way, like if I'm a business person, right, and I have money and I'm looking for opportunities or applications for things, do all the universities have like a database of all the things they've invented and created that you can look at and say, wait a second, can we use this for this application or whatever? Is there a way to do that, or you have to literally go to the university and pitch them and say, we'd like to see your inventions?
It could be done either or, because the universities, since they know that it's so hard to bring the product to applicable and to monetize, all the steps to execute, that's why they prefer to sleep on the inventions or the new things. So what they do, they simply publish whatever new that they found, and that's the good like the niche, like the stepping stone for them to apply for the new project, so the governmental money which goes as the cycle. While what they can also do, they can monetize the product and then bring the money in the university, in the laboratory, and do and develop the next and the next.
Sure.
So the gap is really a lot of time that needs to be invested in bringing even the product. So the best, if somebody is looking for the brilliant ideas, is to create kind of the agency who would play that role. They would go to the universities and ask, even sometimes, if you have the need for a particular product, go and ask, because you give the idea what experiment the scientist has to do. I don't have the idea what problem exists for you.
But there's no database like the patent office where you can.
There is.
There is that has all the database information.
Yeah, but mostly, even the universities, if they create as even if they found something new, they don't even step into the paperwork, the bureaucracy, filing for the patent. They just announce that they found for the first time this is what was discovered. So they publish in really very high ranked scientific journal, and that's the stepping stone for them to apply for the next project. And then they sleep on the inventions as it is, which has the potential to become the product. And this is kind of the cycle you can go through, but the execution is harder for the scientists, because we really see the world in very different angle.
Business people, it's different.
We are, you are not.
Scientists. Right.
No, you don't see that. You don't think. For you, it's kind of something that you created, and once you see the criticism and you hear because the investors are not interested in how do you feel about your inventions. They need the numbers behind, and that's we speak different languages, and because there is no connection, that gap makes the things a bit harder, and the execution stops over there, and they just go with the governmental grants, which is easier to obtain, because
Right.
if you apply for the governmental grant and you say, this is what I discovered and I want to dig in and to see what is behind, the government pays the money.
Right.
But maybe you have the gold, like real gold, which you can convert into the product, bring it on the market and serve people.
Yeah. Really make your invention something as opposed to
Yeah.
sitting on a shelf when you get. So, Axa, what are you doing now in terms of your career?
I'm working with the companies. I help them to remove the toxicity from the from the working space, to work on the culture, and also with successful entrepreneurs to remove the to quit the toxic relationship, and also to quit the comfort zone, because my book is titled like Stop Calling It a Comfort Zone, to be
Okay.
uncomfortable to be comfortable to
Is
succeed.
your book out yet?
Yes, it's on Amazon, and I'm preparing myself for the TEDx talk. And
Oh,
that's very funny,
yeah.
because being in science for 15 years, I was perfect to do the research, right?
Right.
And for the last 3 years, I couldn't move on. It was something was stopping me, and I couldn't realize what. And I started to put all the pieces of the puzzle and dig in really deeper.
Yeah.
Why some people succeed, behind the mindset. Even it is the mindset, but what is behind the mindset?
What's going on? Yeah.
That's the tiniest piece. Let's call it the key, which I found, because we know that unsuccessful people who fail and people who are successful, there is a gap, and it is the mindset.
Right.
But what is behind the mindset, no one speaks about. And I was like, there should be. It's impossible that there is nothing behind why some people feel small, and they keep feeling small and
Right.
fine with that.
Sure, it's confidence in your mind, of course. Now, are you going to be giving this TED Talk soon?
Next year. I already applied, and it's even like part of my speech when I give the idea about when we call the zone
Right.
where we are unhappy, unhealthy, and unfulfilled to be the comfort zone. What is the signal that you send to your brain? That you are comfortable to be unhappy, unhealthy,
Yeah.
and fail.
Yeah.
That's why we sabotage. So we need to stop. You need to stop calling that to be your comfort zone, because you set up your standard. You set up that's my maximum. I don't want to reach more. I don't need, like the line at the seminar.
All limiting
I was
beliefs.
like,
yeah, limiting beliefs.
all the limiting beliefs. It's you. Once you start to talk to successful people and people who have the habit to fail,
You can see the difference. Yeah. Right away. I see it all the time. The people that I meet who are successful and they have that mindset, they'll be successful in almost everything that they do. And the other people, they question everything, and they don't take chances, and they don't believe in themselves, I guess is a better word. But make sure you get us the link for the book. We'll put it in the show notes, and stay in touch when the TED Talk becomes available. We'll get that out so everybody can listen to that and see what's going on. And what's a good way for people to connect with you now? Is it like LinkedIn, or you have a website?
It's the LinkedIn, and I'm preparing my own web page where I will put all the information, because I was waiting for that for very long, to have the core value to bring to audience. And then that's where I am accidentally from science failing miserably, very, very close to quit. But I didn't.
A lot of people in the scientific world, they don't make it over the hill.
I know that, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I know. They can bring a lot more to the world, I think. Yeah.
There's so many clever and the smartest people in the world you can ever meet.
Yeah, and then we don't hear about them, or we don't get their inventions or whatever. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today.
Thanks for hosting
me. Stick around.
Me.
We'll play the credits, and then we'll follow your journey. All right, let me put you on mute,
Absolutely.
and I'll play the credits. Hold on a second.
Thanks for hosting me.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Accidental Entrepreneur. Opening and closing music written and performed by Howie Moskovich and made to order music. For information about Howie and his music services, please follow the link in our show notes. If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and most of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@beinackerlaw.com.
The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted by Mitch Beinacker and produced by Beinacker Law. If you'd like to learn more about our business and legal services, you can find us on social media or visit our website at beinackerlaw.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.